What's going on, traders? I'm doing an update for this is Monday the 14th, and just going to take a look at the cycles on the S&P. I wanted to touch on Tesla too. I was looking at a couple of different cycles that from some data I saw a month or so ago. But let's just talk about S&Ps. um, so this isn't a scientific method. This is more about getting the relative points as far as directional timing and the turning points. So this is an 8-day cycle here, and this has been a pretty good rhythm. I mean, we double topped, we dropped 8 days, then had another cycle down into a low, bounced for 8 days, another 8.6 cycle lower, back to the high, and then we've had two cycles down. And it's interesting now that we're coming into the second leg. So we had two cycles down. Now we're going to have what looks like maybe two cycles up. Now I had counted from this candle down based on this data set. But if you want to just count from the lows, so if we consider this cycle low here, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're in the fifth day. Monday being the fifth day, put us into an 8 count into later in the week. If we look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I had the 8 count into the intraday low here on the 26th after Christmas, and then following by, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But if you count from the 8 into the low, and then this cycle being the bounce on the 1 count, we're actually only into the third day here of this second cycle. But I think it's just important to see from a timing perspective, we're close on a turn. Does it correspond with getting above 2,600 and testing the upper bands here into the week? When I look at the weekly level, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's actually go from the high. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. We're only 4 weeks off the low on the weekly there, but these drops have been 1, 2, 3, 4 sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4. The weekly cycle still has room to come back up. This is kind of cycling with the 8.6 count, which makes sense that you're only at a 50 level with 4 week bounce off the low. All right, so that's the time piece. We may have a little bit. Mondays are tough because Monday it tends to be a weak bounce, and then Tuesdays we get kind of been turnaround Tuesday where the bottom falls out. So what I want to watch for into tomorrow is, can the volatility pick up? What does the volume look like if we do start to pick up? And then from a price perspective, I mean, the volatility of the VIX is telling us we're close. I mean, we're trading an 18, 19 handle on futures. Implied volatility has really come down to levels where we've made serious lower highs each time since October, November, December. So the volatility is saying we're certainly close to be rolling over. From a price perspective, if you guys notice here, the swing line, we haven't closed below the prior candle's low yet. That's another thing I want to confirm, that the market's may be ready to roll over. So that'll look like lower lows. We really need to break the 8. And you can see that a little bit easier on like your 30-minute chart here. Notice here's a higher low, higher low, higher lows. So this is the zone right here. And you got pi here, 2560. That's where we need to really, I mean, this low from overnight and this morning is actually pretty pivotal. 2567 2560. If that starts to give way, we should expect more of the same, more downside, more selling pressure. See if the algorithms and the machines pick up on that. And then also, I was noticing, since we're talking about S&Ps, I had just highlighted in the room some of Socrates' stuff. So here he's talking about, from a weekly standpoint, only if we got above, this is the Dow now, 27,600, would there anything change? Basically, we're in a bearish downtrend, which is the same with what our model's spitting back. So bearish trend, you got to get above 27,600 to change anything on the weekly level. We're trading 5.96% beneath that, but I think this is important. A possible change in trend appears cyclically in March. I'm going to show you what Tesla cycle looks like for March also. Not that Tesla is the be all as far as the market. We just happen to be short and been playing that on the short side, so I wanted to look at it cyclically. But March keeps coming up for different markets, like the euro is a turning point in March, the dollar. So I could easily see this next bounce into another weak, January, February, and then maybe we see a low in March. Would that correspond with maybe a pie on the weekly or levels on the 200 on the monthly? I'll show you what I mean by that. So far we held the weekly lows at the 200 here. And you've got pi down here though, 21.58. And then on the monthly, it's the bands here, this area. It's also possible you really crashed to the lows back here from 2016, which would be halfway between the 200. Usually when we break the bands here, you do get a deeper move. So that would be one hell of a drop all the way back to 1600. I don't really see that in the cards. But that would be the first target on the downside, 2166. And then if we did make a lower high and went through the 200, 2150, it's the same area at pi down here. I could see a move lower to lower lows into that March time frame. We don't need a scenario build too much, but that March looks like it's going to be pretty pivotal. So we had a cyclical event, was a high established during September. That normally implies the next turning point should be a low. Next turning point, or the market's been neutral. I think he's talking about the turning point there in March. The next directional move in that time frame. Last month produced a low, so we need to break out of this range. Okay, the low was established week December 24th. That was 14 weeks from the high in September. And we have not elected any weekly bullish signals. So that's what we're saying also. These are just bounces to lower highs. You need to be selling them. You need to be a better seller. So the market is in a downtrend overall on the weekly level. And we agree with that. All right. And that's kind of the timing I want to hit on. I thought this was interesting. I just went back and looked at some data here. We had Tesla. This actually really played out well. This is a combination of cycles here. But look at this has a low into March after peaking here in December and January. I could definitely see that playing out with the overall markets. Here you can see we made a high in December, and we've got another rollover here through January 22nd into maybe that looks like maybe this February, March time frame, and then another pretty big cycle up for Tesla. So I was just looking at that a little bit earlier today. I have some out of the money puts, but I haven't really been waiting on this market to kind of crack before doing anything else because the theta decay or the time decay has been pretty bad. It's just these options are just bleeding because the volatility has been sucked out. But we did peak up here in December with that cycle. So the last low came with the cycle too back here in October. Right down in here. At this point, October was the low in the cycle. and then we bounced to a lower high, like I just showed, and now this next turn here looks to be into February and March. So something to think about, guys. I thought I would give you an update on that. I'll try to hit on some crypto markets and Forex a little bit later.